He's being moved to general population. I never thought I would see or live to see this day because it's so bizarre. When a high profile individual is incarcerated, either someone like Bill Cosby or someone notorious, they normally want to stay in a protective custody unit and stay away from general population because of several factors. One, they're going to be people are going to want to use them because they're famous, be connected to them somehow. They're going to want to either become their new best friend. They're going to want to either extort them, or they're going to want to take the opportunity to assault them to get credibility within the actual housing unit, and or prison, wherever they may be housed. But apparently, he went with his attorneys in front of the judge there, and said that he wanted to be relocated to general population, and he didn't want to be in the protective custody unit that he was currently being housed in with other high profile inmates. Yes, today, R. Kelly has been moved to general population. I know a lot of you were thinking it was somebody else, but it was R. Kelly. R. Kelly, the disgraced R&B singer, has been moved to general population over protective custody. And it's a little more to it than that, but basically, R. Kelly and his attorneys went in front of the judge last week, and they said that they have been withheld and restricted from being able to meet with their client in any type of fashion, a room where they could sit down and go over legal briefings and talk about the case and keep him abreast of what's going on. The room that they actually gave him and his attorneys to use, there's no room for a table in this room. There's no chairs. They must all stand. R. Kelly is handcuffed and in leg shackles with his hands at his hips. There is a tiny ledge near a window where they can set down papers, but not flat. There's not enough room. It's only about 4.5 inches wide, so they can put papers on there and then explain them to them one at a time. And it's made to be uncomfortable, and that's what the room is for. They do have other rooms there at the federal facility where attorneys can meet with their clients and sit down around a table and discuss the legal matters. But they have never offered that room to R. Kelly or to his attorneys. And that's kind of bizarre that they would do that, repeatedly. But it's up to the jail and the jailers and what room they allow his attorneys and him to meet in. And they've apparently decided that they want to make it as uncomfortable as possible for R. Kelly to meet with his attorneys. And I guess that's their right. They're not doing anything illegal. They're just not, going out of their way to make them comfortable. So he has decided to move to general population. One of the things that they filed in the court papers, regarding wanting to move to general population, is that he was being held in solitary confinement, and that he was being uh, deprived of any kind of human contact. Now, the prosecutors, teams brought up that since he's been held there at the MCC Correction Center, that he has had three different cellmates, or cellies, and that he was also written up for refusal to take on a cellmate. So, and in R. Kelly's, I guess, defense to that, he was told that when he originally got there, he didn't have to have a cellmate, and his attorneys were informed of that as well, that he would be put into a single cell occupancy cell, and then they moved him from that to a double bed occupancy, and then he's like, they brought in a cellmate. Now, the gentleman who was brought in that he refused to have in his cell with him as a cellmate was there for a murder charge. He is a gang member, a Crips, gang member, and R. Kelly didn't want that man in the in the same quarters as him, and you have to understand, and I know there are a lot of things that R. Kelly has been accused of, but he hasn't been convicted of anything at this point. Until he's convicted, and that's in our Constitution, that you're innocent until proven guilty. Now, the other two cellmates who were assigned with him were only with him for a short period of time, less than a week, between the two of them, and they've then, since bonded out and left. So R. Kelly was alone after that, and then they did move him to a cell that is on the opposite end of the tower, but is still, I guess, technically not in the isolation or the hole, because there are other inmates that are there that he could see and he could hear, but they restricted his free movement within the actual pod that he was in, because it is a protective custody unit where he was moved to. So he did complain about that, and so I guess him and his attorneys were technically right on that he was being deprived, contact with other inmates. But at the same time, though, they were doing that for his own protection, and they did offer to move him to general population, but he refused to be moved to a general population pod. He wanted to remain there because, in his own words, he had a lot of business to take care of, and he didn't want somebody else up on his own business. And he figured, if he had a cellmate and if he was in general population, he didn't know what all those people in general population are all about and what was going to happen to him in general population. And they can't guarantee his safety in general population. So now he has been moved to general population. They cannot, guarantee his safety in general population, as opposed to when he was in a protective custody unit, where they restrict the movements, they restrict the items that are around him, and so he has been moved to a general population unit, and there's not really any chance for him to go back. He can petition the court to go back to protective custody if he doesn't like it. But the judges kind of go like, wait a minute, you didn't want general population, then you wanted general population, and now you don't want this, and you want to go back. So the likelihood is that they probably wouldn't move him back unless there was an actual real threat to his bodily harm or well-being. They would probably never move him back to general population unless he goes to prison and he's convicted of these crimes. If he is convicted of them, he will go to protective custody in prison, and he's not going to get much of a choice there once he goes to prison. If they decide, okay, you've been convicted of all 13 of these charges against you, and racketeering and extortion and there's all kinds of different charges against him, on top of the exploitation of minors, and abuse of at least one or two women, who they're still trying to figure out where they're going to actually charge him on those counts. But that's where he is. He's in general population, the MCC Correction Center in Chicago, and that's where he's going to stay until he goes to court on this case. He has been denied bail, so he can't bail out even if he had the money, and apparently a lot of people are saying he doesn't have the money, but other people say he does have the money. So, well, thank you for joining me today. You stay safe out there.